Another edition of, stay grounded, I would call it, or get growing, or many other things. But basically, welcome to your half hour where I answer your gardening Q&As. For those that don't know me, maybe you're here for the first time, maybe you're stumbling across this after a live broadcast. My name is Frank Ferragini. That's my real name. Actually, my legal name is Francis Anthony Ferragini, but I go by Frankie Flowers. And the reason why I go by Frankie Flowers is I'm a 4-time best-selling garden author. My family own and operate 2 garden centers, one in Bradford, one in Barrie, both called Bradford Greenhouses Garden Gallery. I've been a 4-time Landscape Ontario Garden Communicator of the Year. Each and every morning, you can see me on breakfast television where I'm wild about weather, forecasting the weather, and passionate about plants. And I also share my gardening advice on Cityline. And I'm here every weekend for you, and you, and you, and you. I'm here to kind of help you go through the world of gardening, kind of answer the garden questions that you have, what's happening right now. But not only am I here for you, the community that is on this chat, on this little broadcast, on this live stream, whatever the heck you call it, is here to help you too. So the questions that I don't get to answer, people will hop on here and get a look and also answer as well. Best place to do that is on Facebook. I know I'm on many different platforms right now, but at Ask Frankie Flowers on Facebook. That's where you can find me there. So good morning to Matthew this morning. Good morning to Ashley Brown. Crystal saying good morning this morning. Susan, good morning to you yet again this morning up there in Frosty Land as well. Kim Waldy, good morning to you from Stratford this morning as well. We have a big shout out this morning on a beautiful Saturday to Kim Tays. Good morning as well. We got a good morning from Niagara this morning, beautiful region of the province of Ontario. And Heather saying good morning to all out there. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about my week. If you join me on my journeys on Instagram, even on here on Facebook, or I haven't put it yet up on YouTube, I traveled across the province this week with breakfast television. Starting on Sunday, we were just at the Big Apple on the 401, just outside of Cobourg. From the Big Apple, we went to Whispering Springs, an amazing glamping experience where it's built on 300 acres and these big, beautiful tents that is open till October, but you can book it into next year now. And that's with Destination Ontario. From there, from the glamping, we went to Fenelon Falls, hopped on R&R houseboats and stayed the night on a houseboat, but also went out and I did go swimming. It was cold. From there, we went off to Fern Resort. Fern Resort reminds you of Dirty Dancing, an all-inclusive family resort open 12 months of the year where you can go and enjoy with your family. Great for kids. So many different things this winter, including a little bit of a skating area. We were then at the Port of Aurelia. From there, we went up to beautiful Bala to go take a look at the cranberries. The Cranberry Festival will be happening the weekend after Thanksgiving, and that's at Muskoka Farm and Winery. Check that out. Beautiful. You can do a cranberry plunge. Notice that the cranberries are not quite ripe. They need some colder air night temperatures to get them to ripen. So they're getting that now, which is good. And then we ended off in Muskoka at JW Marriott Resort on the waters of Lake Joseph. What did I notice during those journeys? The transition of fall color. In Muskoka right now, the fall color is so beautiful. And each and every day, the fall colors are getting just that much better. But one thing that I noticed as well, and one thing I want to talk to you guys about, and a lot of the times that this year, this plant gets a huge amount of affection. And it should get a huge amount of affection because it is beautiful. And the plant that I'm talking about is sumac. Sumac, of course, the berries of sumac have been used by Indigenous peoples for years as dyes and food sources for birds as well. Sumac gives you that very beautiful orangey red in the fall. Super easy to grow, but many varieties of sumac do have runner roots. So if you do have a smaller residential property and you're thinking, hey, that sumac is such a beautiful color, sumac may not be your best choice because it becomes an invasive plant if planted in the wrong location. What I would really recommend instead is burning bush. Burning bush, there's the dwarf burning bush, which is a beautiful variety for you that's out there. So just a reminder, sometimes things look good, and they are good, in the right location. Just going to have a drink here. So it's really important for you to know a little bit more. Just don't say something and go, hey, that looks pretty. You ever did that in high school? You're like, hey, that person looks pretty. Then you get to know them a little bit more, and you're like, no, that's not the right choice for me. Trust me, this guy's gone through that. Same with plants. You're going to look at things and you're going to say, hey, that looks pretty, but make sure that it fits. Number one, your location. Is it the right amount of light? If you want it to overwinter, is it the right hardiness zone for you? Is it a mounding plant? If you live in a small residential area, is it mounding? So then that way it won't spread roots. If you see vigorous grower, if you see that it has the word weed within it, those are all some concerns that you have. Is it the right sun that you have as well? So make sure that those all fit for you. Here we go. In terms of one of the first questions here from Franca this morning, what is the best weed killer for grass on the market? So the best weed killer on the market for your lawns right now is a Weed Be Gone. Weed Be Gone is a chelated iron. It is by Scott's. That chelated iron will take care of many broadleaf weeds. Sometimes a few applications will be needed. It'll actually almost appear to rot out, blacken the weed itself. So for instance, a dandelion. And then what it'll do is turn the outer area of the grass a little bit of a deeper green. It doesn't affect the grass. It doesn't kill any grass type plants. It doesn't kill things like crabgrass that you have in your grass or quackgrass. It'll kill just some of the broadleaf weeds that are out there. It's the best on the market, but it's always a good idea to do some hand removal as well. And then we still have these next couple of weeks to top dress and overseed your lawn. It's a perfect time to top dress and overseed your lawn. Lawns are growing faster. And this week, upcoming weekend is Thanksgiving weekend. It is Thanksgiving this upcoming weekend, or is it next? But anyway, Thanksgiving weekend is the ideal weekend to put a fall weed and feed on, or a fall lawn food. Really, it's just the fall lawn food. That fall lawn food, I use the Turf Builder fall lawn food. It's the fantastic one that I use. Here we go with another question we have from Dave Little. Good morning, Dave. How you doing? When should I plant them this year? Dave Little, I see. I brought a bag of bulbs at Costco last year and I didn't get them planted in time. Good question, Dave, by the way. I see that you had a two-part question there. The best time to be planting bulbs is just before a ground frost, but anytime after the Thanksgiving Day weekend is when I would feel confident in Southern Ontario. When you're planting the fall bulbs, you call them, but they're actually spring flowering bulbs that we plant in fall. You're going to take the height of that bulb and you're going to plant it 3 times in depth. So if the bulb is 2 inches in height, you're going to plant it 6 inches in depth. You're going to make sure when you're planting bulbs, some of your crocuses, you're putting those to the front of your flower bed. Your daffodils, you're going to put those to the back of your flower bed. Teddy-tets, which are somewhat of a small flowering narcissi, you're going to put those to the middle to front of your bed. So look at the flowering, look at the heights, look at the flowering time as well. Some of my favorite spring flowering bulbs are daffodils. And the reason why I love all varieties of daffodils, which is narcissi, is because they are poisonous to squirrels. Love them. Allium, later blooming, related to the onion family, fantastic looking plant. Frutillaria, some people call it frutilia as well. Those guys there, deer won't eat them, so they're really good for that. There are some of the parrot varieties of tulips that are really quite nice. And I do love scilla and I do love crocus. So those are some of my favorite. Well, we got a shout out here from a tropical place. Debbie, good morning, Frankie from Dominican Republic, usually from Barrie. I hope you're enjoying your time in Dominican. Question that we have here, when do you plant onions? This is from Marlene. Marlene, so in fall is when we plant garlic. In spring is when we'll plant onions. So spring is when we plant onions. Generally in spring, we can plant onions like kind of mid-spring is the best. So in Ontario, it would be the end of April. We can either do them as what's called a Dutch set, which are almost like little bulbs, or you can do them in seed, or you can even do them in plants. We got a good morning here this morning as well from Christine. Good morning there in PEC, by the way, in Prince Edward County this morning. We got Dave saying, awesome for the answer. Thank you. That's why I'm here, buddy. I'm here to help everybody that's out there. We got another one. Frankie, is this going to be a Saturday thing from now on? I keep missing it. So Cheryl, indeed, for the next several weeks, it's going to be a Saturday thing. The reason why, couple different remarks that I got. Some people that go to church on Sundays would really appreciate that it would be on a Saturday. So I got to appreciate those. My son's hockey schedule, which now I am the assistant coach for because there wasn't a lot of volunteers. I have a busy Sunday now. So as you know, you are my family, but my immediate family, it trumps everything. That's just how I am. I lost a brother to cancer years ago. And my whole thing is that my immediate family trumps everything. So for any of you that this is an inconvenience that it now is on a Saturday, my family wins. Just the way it goes. Sorry, guys. Here we go. Peggy. Frankie, love your advice. I've been maintaining my mom's huge property. It can be overwhelming at times. Indeed, even some people that have moved to new properties have assumed other people's gardens. And sometimes people that, well, we look at the mass exodus of people that left the city of Toronto and urban places during these last few years to get away and maybe have a larger space and to enjoy nature. They then realize how busy a garden and lawn can be. There's nothing wrong with editing down some of those gardens because we don't want to become a victim to our garden. We want garden to be joy. We don't want it to be frustration. So if you have too many gardens, then sometimes removing those gardens, even just simply sodding the area that's there, removing maybe some perennials and putting some mulch beds down, maybe getting somebody to take a look at the garden itself and see if there's some ways that we can edit it down, simplify it, streamline it, and make it easier for you. And then really put a template down, a schedule where we can help you work through that. It just gave me an idea. Maybe that's some service that I can offer people online as well. So those are some of the things. So if it's overwhelming, we got to figure out, okay, what areas of that garden is bringing you joy right now and where are you overwhelmed? And let's see if we can redesign, recreate, and edit down, or just really maybe do some better choices so we can help you out then. So I think we may have a comment here. Christina, good morning, Frankie. Oh, no, we don't. What else can I sprinkle in the soil when planting bulbs? I bought a milk carton of pellets, which is chicken from Bradford last year. Is there anything else? I love your Saturday broadcast to watch my coffee. So the pelletized chicken manure, which I was mentioning in previous broadcasts, it does somewhat deter some of the squirrels that are out there. The other thing that we can do is just right after we're done planting is we can put some chicken wire down over the planting area of bulbs. And what we can then do is top it with soil. The chicken wire, the bulbs will grow through the chicken wire, but the squirrels won't be able to dig their way down. Blood meal is something else that will distract squirrels. Bone meal can attract squirrels. Planting things that squirrels don't like daffodils, which is narcissi, are other things we can do. If we can't beat them, we feed them. Putting a feeder on the far end of the property will sometimes keep them busy. So these are all different strategies on how to get those bulbs out there as well. And if tulips are really attractive to squirrels. So if you do have a very big squirrel problem, you planted tulips for a few seasons and you're continuing to be frustrated, I would recommend planting daffodils. The other reason why I like daffodils over tulips is that tulips do need to be lifted and do need to be divided, where narcissi, daffodils are perennialized. They'll come back year after year and there's very little work for them. So I just think it's a better suggestion. Okay, Frankie, I'm sorry. It's been said before, but I forget. Ashley, don't worry. Should we be deadheading mums? You know what? Deadheading mums will help out. By deadheading the mum, sometimes you even get some of the other little buds underneath to come out. And deadheading any plant is of benefit because even if those flowers are spent, that plant is putting energy to the flower. By removing and deadheading the plant, it then will put energy back to the foliage and to the root, strengthening that plant if you want that mum to overwinter for next year. So is there a benefit from deadheading a mum? Yes. Should you be doing it? If you have time, you should. If you don't have time, don't worry too much about it. Okay. Barb Holmes. I planted my tulip bulbs in wire suet feeders. Squirrels don't bother them at all. There you go. That's another great recommendation. A little expensive because those wire suet feeders are expensive, where you can just go get chicken wire and you could even create forms of the chicken wire and then you can actually plant them in the chicken wire. So that's because they can't dig in and get them, but then they can then grow through. That is a great tip, Barb. That's the first time. Shout out. That's what I love. It's what I love about just doing these things and coming on here each and every week is while you guys are sharing your advice, we're helping everybody and I'm still learning. You can't know it all. And I love to learn. Ashley Brown saying, amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Peggy. Good morning to you, Peggy. Thank you for the comment. I didn't finish my comment and I wanted your advice on how to maintain her property. She has a lot of perennials. So Peggy, what we really do have to take a look at that property is we got to look at areas where some of the perennials may need to be divided. Some of the perennials may need to be removed. Where can we put mulch in some of the areas to minimize the amount of weeding that's there? If there's just too many perennials, there's a better way that we can design it. Maybe remove some of the perennials that have short bloom periods. And because they have short bloom periods, they're really not adding a tremendous amount of value. Removing those, taking a look at the perennials that give you long bloom periods with really great garden interests. So then that way you're not deadheading. You don't have to do as much work. So there's a way for us to redesign a perennial garden to make it still look a beautiful perennial garden, still make sure that you're bringing joy to your family member and bringing joy to the property, but bringing joy to yourself. So there's better ways that we can do that. Matthew, good morning, buddy. Dear Frank, I had a wonderful time with my sister at Hamilton ComicCon, right? Matthew, last weekend. And I got to meet Dane Kane, RJ Mitt, and Phil Guerrero. Congrats on that, buddy. My friend Matthew is a friend of Breakfast Television. Matthew has the most amount of autographs that I've ever seen from many different celebrities. He's always out there and he's not shy. And this is his passion and he loves sharing his passion. And I love that he does that. And I think he one time will have the Guinness Book of World Records for the most amount of autographs. Lisa Joan, where can I get garlic to plant? So your garden centers will have it. Some of your home improvement stores will have it. Sometimes you go to your farmer's market and you go to the person who's selling garlic. Often they'll have garlic, and some of the garlic that they have locally grown, you can even plant that garlic. Some of the garlic you buy at your grocery store, I wouldn't recommend planting because we don't know the specific variety. But if you go to the farmer's market, which happen on Saturdays and Sundays, and go talk to your local garlic grower, they are a wealth of information and generally will have what's called seed garlic. Or you go to your local garden center and they'll be the ones that can tell you. And then if you go to your home improvement stores, we know the Lowe's, the Home Depots, the Canadian Tires, many of them, you'll find them there as well. This is for Heather. Heather, my double bearded iris didn't bloom as well this year. Would it be from just being too packed in the space between the houses? Lots of light, but I can't see the soil anymore, just tubers. So if it's over 3 to 5 years old, you may want to be dividing those tubers out. The irises, the bearded irises, don't want to be done at this time of the year. So we need to kind of spark it back into life. Usually when we see fewer, weaker blooms is when we need to almost give it like a defibrillator. Boom. How do we make sure that we give it another heartbeat? Is we actually then divide the roots, which makes them into younger little areas. And then those younger little areas of tubers will then sprout new lush growth that will help them out. With the irises, generally I like to do that in late July, early August. This is the time to be doing that. So not now, but we'll do that after next season. And then the following season is when you will have some really great bloom period. Okay, summer and fall. By the way, happy October 1st, everybody. We're in October. At the grocery store, I bought it. If it says it's from Ontario, this is another comment back to where to get garlic from. So she's just looking for Ontario grown garlic. A reminder for some people that want to go grow garlic, they're just thinking that you just plant the garlic bulb, like the full bulb in, and then it grows. No, you remove the cloves of garlic. So you remove the cloves of garlic. You space those cloves out at least about 6 inches is probably a good recommendation. Then you're going to plant the height of those cloves 3 times in depth. Boom. They may sprout a little bit this fall. Don't worry about it. They're going to grow during the growing season next year. In late June, early July, you're going to see the scapes, which are like these little, you're going to see like the foliage grow up. And then you're going to see this little bulb there in the twills. You remove that sizes up the bulb. We then allow it to grow further. As soon as the foliage on the top starts to yellow in late August, the garlic is ready. I love garlic, like love. Garlic to me is so good. Okay, as well with garlic, if you plant it in amongst some of your roses, it'll actually repel aphids. So it's a good companion plant to roses that are out there as well. So here we go, here we grow. I'm Brando Fuller. Good morning, Frankie from London, Ontario. Beautiful community. Is there a way to stop squirrels from eating my fall displays of corn on the corn stalks? Yes, indeed. What I want you to do to go out and get Animal Be Gone. Animal Be Gone leaves a residual taste on the corn. It'll be Bitrix. So you can then spray the corn with the Bitrix, which is, it's like a cedar kind of flavor. And that will keep them away from those. The other thing that you can do if you want, because it is a fall display, and let's say that we want to make it look a little bit like Halloween, we could actually put a plastic owl or an owl up in that corner. That will repel the squirrels for a little bit of time, but they will get used to that owl. You may need to move it around a few times, but just seeing that predator sometimes is enough to scare them at bay. Tracy Barber, good morning, Tracy, to you. Good morning from Port Rowan, another beautiful community. I've had a hard time cleaning up my cosmos and sunflowers because I feel sorry for this birds. So here I sit with a messy garden, LLL. So the cosmos and as well your sunflowers, they have the beautiful seed heads on them. And at this time of the year, they will be attracting birds. What's the downfall of just not cleaning up your garden? So let's say that we get a snow up in that area, and that will actually take all those and push all those down and crush them. So that's okay. You're going to get seeds that then fall off those seed heads, and they'll sprout next spring. If you want more sunflowers, you want more cosmos, that's okay. In the spring, you'll leave a little bit of that debris there that will then actually give a little bit of some area for different beneficial insects to kind of burrow. And then in the spring, we'll clean up that garden, make sure that you have time. And then you're going to have a bunch of little sprouts that will come up, and you want to make sure that you're kind of monitoring which ones are the cosmos and the sunflowers and which ones are weeds. And then you'll have a new little bounty of blooms for next year. So is it completely a bad thing? No. I don't have a lot of time in spring, so I try to clean my gardens up. Actually, my plant today, a lot of my petunias and my calabricolas and my front planters, because I was away this week, all died out. Things are looking a little tired, some of my annuals. My veggies right now, my cucumbers are done. I got to clean up. So my schedule for today is after this is to drive my son to Young Drivers, clean up my garden, take my other son to practice, which I'm running at 3:30. Tomorrow, get up, do some gardening, then take my son to a hockey game. There you go. Day in the life of Frank Ferragini. Hey, Frankie, I have peonies that haven't bloomed for a couple of years. I think that I have planted them too low in the ground. Should I move them now or in the spring? You can do either or. Deb, if you have time now and you're reminded of it now, I would go ahead and lift those. It's still a great time. By lifting the peonies now, you're not going to be disturbing them for bloom for next year. And because you're not dividing them. I wouldn't divide them. I would just lift them. If in spring, after other peonies have bloomed, and you decide to lift them at that, then after that bloom period, that's when I would maybe lift and divide them. By dividing them, because maybe they haven't bloomed in a few years and they're just basically, if they've never bloomed, you planted them too low. If all of a sudden after a few years they've been blooming great and then they're not blooming, that means they need to be divided. So there's a couple recommendations for you. Matthew saying thanks to the shout out. Of course, Matthew, you are a special soul, my friend. You are a special soul. Wendy, good morning, everyone. Thank you for answering all of our questions, Frankie. You are welcome. Happy October indeed. You love being a dad and it shines through. I do. Actually, I love being a dad. Like I absolutely do. Okay. What is the best way to keep rosemary inside for the winter? So summer, I will tell you what I did last year with my rosemary. I overwintered with great success. So at about this time of the year, I gave it a spray with insecticidal soap about the day before bringing it indoors. Outdoors, I allowed it to dry slightly. I then brought it indoors into really, it's where my sliding door is that faces south in the back. So a very bright room, not directly in front of the window, just back from the window. And thankfully for me, it's right by my kitchen. I made sure that underneath that pot, I put down a plate so that when I watered, the water wouldn't go all over my kitchen floor. I made sure that before watering, anytime I kept it very dry. I maybe watered it once to twice a month from October to March. The only thing that I needed to be very careful of is when I open that sliding door in the back to let my dog out, Bentley out to go to the bathroom, I wanted to make sure that that rosemary plant was never by a cold draft. I gave it the occasional little pluck because I was using some of the rosemary during the growing season. Then in spring, as soon as we started to hit about the 15th of March, I started to increase my watering to twice a month, so every other week. And then what I also did was I started fertilizing at that time with just an all-purpose, water-soluble Miracle-Gro fertilizer. And that was just about it. The key is to keep it, if you overwater it, it will rot out. If by chance you can mist it on occasion because it does get dry in our homes, keep it away from drafts and heating vents and a bright room and keep it dry. That's your best success. We have another question here this morning. This is from Rita. How to make sure there are no bugs in my plants before bringing them indoors. So give them a spraying of insecticidal soap, even if you don't see bugs, and that's Bug Be Gone. So the insecticidal soap that I use is Bug Be Gone. I try to spray the top, bottom sides of the leaves, and I do usually one application, and then I'll even do a second application after bringing them indoors. Main thing about bringing plants indoors is a reminder, their foliage generally does drop. Some of their leaves drop as they're adjusting to light levels. So that's about it. But I would also look on the stems of some of your plants to see if you see any scales, which will look like bumps. See if you see any mealybug, which will look like little puff balls, Those are a little harder. Those guys there, sometimes you need to do an alcohol swab to remove those. And if a plant is hugely infected, you may even consider just not even bringing that plant indoors. But good inspections, using insecticidal soap like Bug Be Gone, another application after bringing indoors, those are great ways. Sometimes the bugs that you see in your plants, you're like, I brought that in because of my plants. If you have a dog that runs outside, bugs can jump on your dog and can bring them indoors. Bugs can jump on us and we can bring them into our homes. So sometimes you think it's the plant that brought the bugs in, but it could be something else that brought the bugs in. We have another question this morning from Tammy. I like to start an indoor grow garden. Can you recommend one? There's so many different types. Tammy, the one that there's two that I will recommend. There is Arrow Garden. Arrow Garden is a fantastic a little grow system, which is great. And then Click and Grow. Both of those guys are super easy. I generally just grow herbs in mine, but you can grow cherry tomatoes and leafy greens. You can grow actually a lot of leafy greens. I would start with one of the smaller systems, and then I would see how much you like those smaller systems. Online, after, if you're like, oh, I want a bigger system, they sell really easily as a resale. So if you then post them online for somebody else to buy, they are super easy to use. They do all the think work for you. All you pretty much need to do is to add water and on occasion fertilizer. They come with the LED light. So once again, that is Arrow Garden and Click and Grow. I want to give a shout out as well. At the end of the month, I will be launching, and things look like it will be happening, my new website, which is frankieflowers.com, the new version of my website, frankieflowers.com. On that, I will have some product links as well. I will have even some different things that you can buy for Christmas that say Frankie Flowers on them. So yeah, that's going to happen as well. And you'll see some of my recommendations that happen at that time as well at that time. We have another question. Good morning from Sault Ste. Marie. I've drove to Sault Ste. Marie many times, to the Canadian Tire, to Rome's, your independent grocer in Sault Ste. Marie. Shout out to Rome's, good people up there. Engelmann's Ivy, anything stronger to kill the aphids that isn't susceptible to other bugs susceptible to other than Bug Be Gone. I usually use a chemical that was banned long ago. Because of the cosmetic pesticide ban, there are very limited things that we can use that are all Health Canada approved. So other items outside of things that are Health Canada approved, there are really nothing that will be more effective than Bug Be Gone. So that's really my main thing. You can always use your hose to wash off bugs and then do a spraying of application. Instead of being reactive and waiting till the bugs get there, maybe do some applications just the week before you normally get those bugs in the area. That will actually help out. And then it's just not one application and then you go. In this world where we have a cosmetic pesticide ban, we have to be more preventative than reactive. We have to be more like sustainable grow principles and more organic grow principles. And that's probably the best recommendation that I can give to you. There are some people that will buy things online, but just a reminder, they're not Health Canada approved. And a reminder that applying those, you're putting yourself at risk and you're putting your community at risk. So, because you don't know where the source of those that have come from. We don't know what the dilution of mix that is there. And we don't know how safe they will be. Here we go with another question as well. Bernadette, do calla lily bulbs have to be brought in for fall? Yes, they do. Or leave in the ground? No, do not leave them in the ground. Callas are not winter hardy. They will go and die. You need to store those calla lily tubers for winter. Here we go. And we got another question here. Thank you. Love to see the Bradford trucks in Sault Ste. Marie. That's from Chris. Yeah, you can see those big trucks that you see Bradford on the side with flowers. That's my family business. So right now we are shipping mums and ornamental grasses and cabbage and rudbeckia and echinacea, all those kind of things that are out there. And then the poinsettias are growing. They're growing. Let me tell you, they're coming. They're coming for you. Let's see what we got here. Sharon Crothers, is it too late to transplant the entire perennial garden into a holding garden until spring when I move them back the following year for backyard renovation? Perfect time. Sharon, it is the perfect time for you to do that. Do that this weekend. It is absolutely a great time for you. Heather Fellows is asking, is there a good ivy to grow up a house wall? I have some kind of vine there now, but it's invasive and some of the birds or animals gifted me. So growing up a wall, Boston ivy is the one that's self-clinging that will grow up a wall. It can cause damage to your bricks. Virginia creeper is another fast-growing vine that will grow up your wall. Both turn very beautiful in red fall color. Virginia creeper will need a trellis and or support system. Boston ivy, self-clinging. Those are the two most rapid growing ones. Boston ivy, what you see a lot of the times on the side of old university buildings. That's the Boston ivy, but they can damage some bricks over time, so just be careful of that. Susan Poff, thank you as well for replying to others out there. I'm in Parry Sound, so plant bulbs around Thanksgiving weekend. In Southern Ontario, you can add after Thanksgiving weekend. It's generally just before we get ground frost. Frost is when we want to be planting those. Suzanne, of course, is great because she's always adding a lot of information that's here. And we'll end off this final little comment and or question that we have here. And this is a question from Joe. I've been told I can bring my pepper plants inside during the winter and replant them next year. Do you recommend this method? And does it work with hot peppers? No. We don't have enough light units to sustain peppers indoors. They will rot out. If you have a variety of pepper that you enjoy, I would recommend for you to harvest those peppers, remove the seeds, dry the seeds, and use those seeds for planting next year. Do not, if you want to try overwintering peppers, I will basically 99% guarantee you, you will not have success. Just because I know, and I don't want you to go through a lot of struggle that's out there. Okay, guys, that was my final question of the day for all those that joined me today on this live broadcast, this garden Q&A. I thank you for those that are there right now and some of the questions I didn't get to. If you know the answers, if you're on here and you know the answers, get on there, answer the answer, give them some suggestions, give them some recommendations. If you have an event coming up, put that in the comments so others can see. I'm here for you. Once again, my email is frankie@frankieflowers.com, frankie@frankieflowers.com. I'm here to answer your questions, here to make that Garden of Whedon turn into the Garden of Eden. I'm here to make sure that your blossoms turn into fruit and that your fruit is great to eat. Make sure you guys have a wonderful Saturday. That is, I was going to say Sunday. Saturday, hug your family, love your friends.